#1 since 1998 on television, ESPN Radio, and the World Wide Web. This is the Pro Wrestling Report with your hosts, the man they call Meathead, Frank Cosentino, and Damian Nelson. Professional wrestling news, opinion, and information from fans for fans.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. Damian Nelson sitting alongside the Kaz and the man they call Meathead. And this show is all about your email messages that are sent to us via our website, pwrshow.com. And let's get right down to it. And our first one comes from Andy K., who says, this is almost just like last week's episode. A lot of discussion about this, but it's an interesting subject nonetheless. Andy says, I was watching PWR Primetime, and people were talking about how happy they were that Cena lost, yet angry that Sheamus won. Personally, my opinion is that people feel that way because we see Sheamus, who wrestles less than a year and wins the title. If John Morrison won the title at TLC, people would be happy as hell. But it would be because we are seeing someone that hardly proved himself in the audience's eyes. Kaz, your thoughts?
Well, like we talked about last time, it's a lot of fans are clamoring for something new, something different, and we've got it, but now it's not what they really want, or at least some. I'm not in that camp. I'm in the camp of I liked it, and now we're seeing how they're going to continue this push as champion for Sheamus. But it's tough to say he deserves it because of his length. But again, we're all looking, at least in my opinion, and I know I'm in the minority sometimes on this. I'm looking for that.
He's Italian, just let it go.
Yeah, I'm looking for that element of surprise, where you're like, there's no way, as an example, Rey Mysterio is going to beat the Big Show. Never going to happen. I'm not going to watch this match. But now, in this case, there's no way that Sheamus is going to beat John Cena. But you're going to watch because it did happen. And that's, in my mind, that's how wrestling should be, where you're not really sure who will win this thing.
Yep.
And in this case, this is what happened. Again, it's up to you, the fans, to make it happen. And Vince McMahon knows what he's doing.
One statement I'd use as it pertains to this is, be careful what you ask for, because you just might get it. And what you asked for, what a lot of you asked for, was the end to the Cena reign. And you got it. May not be happy with the circumstances, but you got it. And I would still venture to say a lot fewer people, I think the vocal people who were against John Cena were in the minority compared to those who were fine with him being champion. Meathead, your thoughts on this email. If John Morrison had won the title at TLC, people would be happy, but Sheamus has not proven himself in the audience's eyes.
Again, I've mentioned this about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, when we did an interactive or primetime. I'm not sure which episode it was. Got a little heat for it, but in the minority, but the loud voice. Again, they say that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The ones that, whichever it is. The ones that are saying that Sheamus hasn't earned it, I think those people, again, I don't mean to sit up here and sound pompous, and Damien doesn't, Frank doesn't, and Octavius doesn't. We don't intend to sit up here and sound pompous, but you have a misplaced opinion on how much you think someone deserves to get a certain spot in a company. Again, what they're using the spot for isn't for the holy grail of WWE. It's a spot to get Sheamus to be a heel in your eyes, because let's be honest, before Sheamus went up against Cena, Sheamus was probably going to get some face cheers, because they're like, wow, this is a little different. He's going against Cena. No, he doesn't belong there. That's what it's there for. And you can't put Sheamus up against Cena with Cena having a belt and not give the belt to Cena. Now you could use another example as, you can't put Miz up against Cena and not give Miz the belt. They gave Miz a different belt, and that's where Miz belongs right now, because that's the spot for Miz. But the reason Sheamus is here, and the Sheamus is the champion, is to have you boo him. And I've heard this mentioned before by David Harrow. The reason Heenan was put with Andre was to make sure you're booing him. The reason the belt is put on Sheamus and taken from Cena is to make sure you're booing him. Because, unfortunately, the WWE, TNA, wrestling in general, life in general, they mentioned that the squeaky wheel gets the oil. The people that make the most noise usually get what they want.
All right, thank you for that email, Andy K. Let's go across the pond now. Meathead, this one actually is directed specifically at you. It comes from Marnie from Liverpool, England.
Right.
Marnie from Liverpool. I think they have new episodes of Doctor Who right now, and we still have to wait to get them, even on BBC America. That's a
Yeah,
bit
and
disturbing.
by the way, we got BBC America here in southeast Wisconsin now, available in high def. That's good.
I've had it on DirecTV for a very long time.
Yeah, this year. We got it this year.
No.
That's what I was trying to say.
You on your little system there, lowfalutin. Marty says this. Here in the United Kingdom, they show WWE on Sky Sports. They also show other sports. Why would a sports channel show WWE if it isn't a sport? Now, this is a follow-up from Marty. No, this is a follow-up from Marty.
Sure,
I believe
I
it was
have
a
an
phone
answer.
call into PWR Radio a couple of weeks ago where someone made a similar point, and Marty wants to
I have
make
a
that
quick
point
answer.
and ask that
No,
question.
I have a quick answer for that. What's the spelling bee doing on ESPN? That's a sports channel.
In some circles, it's a sport.
Competition.
It's a competitive situation, much like wrestling.
It's very competitive. But again, I don't want to waste your time or our time talking about if it's a sport or not. It's a traveling show. It is an entertainment show that has athletic competition, but because of its predetermined nature, is not a sport.
I think Marty would beg to differ. Frank,
Well,
thoughts
again,
are gonna
all
well,
I
some
have-
people
We've
We've
debated this for
all I
years.
have-
Hey,
Frank,
but it is an arguable debate. It is something that people are either on one side of the fence of the. Bobby Heenan doesn't think wrestling's a sport. If you ordered that DVD package at pwrshow.com, that includes an autographed book from Bobby the Brain Heenan, Chair Shots, and Life's Other Stories, and also included a DVD with all kinds of footage you'll never get anywhere else. pwrshow.com is available right now. If you got that book, you could read that in there, and it says, wrestling's not a sport in his opinion. He's a man who spent 40 years
the man's
in
intelligent,
the business.
obviously.
After
in the
a
sport.
while, I used to think that there's no way it's not a sport. It's not a sport. It's not a sport.
I can get the dictionary.
You can.
It's
you can
in
get
the it's in the
dictionary.
other room. Cal can pick it up.
And my point is, the predetermined outcome. They know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
However, there is this little piece that I've been debated on, and I can't go back with it. When the two wrestlers get into a meeting beforehand, they both don't know how it's going to be handled at that time. It's up to the writer to go, I'm going to give it to Sheamus this time. So technically, at that moment, they don't know who's going to win.
To be honest,
Someone that's just that moment, okay? Someone's making that determination for them, though, which keeps this not as a sport.
To be honest, though, most wrestlers don't normally care who's going to win or lose. They work together to just put out an entertaining product. Obviously, a wrestler wants to get paid. He wants to be on TV. He wants to be over with the fans. He wants to sell merchandise.
I giggle because I love this argument.
If it takes,
I really do.
if it takes losing all the time to get over, then he'll do that. It doesn't matter. When he's being told yes or no if you're going to win or lose, it doesn't matter to them. As long as they're getting over, getting paid, getting TV time, getting to do what they do for a living, there's no sport in that at all. It's an entertainment show. It is a show.
Let's bottom line it for Marnie from Liverpool, England. Is it a competitive competition, Frank? The action in the ring, is it a competitive competition?
It is, however...
No. I'm gonna have to go ahead and coop you off there. Meathead, is it a competitive competition, the action in the ring? Yes
I'll
or
start
no?
with
Yes or
an
no?
N and an O,
Okay.
and that means no.
How is it not a competitive competition?
How are you going to let me answer and not Frank?
No. I'm asking a follow-up question. That's what interviewers do.
Oh, so then you'll go to Frank next. I just felt bad for the Italian guy. It is not, because, again, all they are doing is basically an athletic dance with each other. One person knows what the other person is going to do seconds before it happens. Be it in football, baseball, basketball, whatever, you don't know what's going on in the mind of the other guy or the other female or whoever else you're working against.
Now, you do know that in professional wrestling,
There is some
in most
freelancing.
matches, exactly, not everything is planned. It is a controlled situation with a premeditated outcome. In my opinion, it is a sport, and it's very loosest of definitions. In my opinion, it's a sport because when you read the definition of sport is a competitive competition. And I don't think you can argue that wrestling is not a competitive competition because they are competing for the fans, and they are competing. I said a competitive.
No,
competition?
they're actually, Damien. They're not competing for the fans.
Yeah, they
the
are.
heel is not trying to get the fans.
Yes,
they're
the
not
heel
trying to
is.
get
The
the
heel wants the
fans to
boos
cheer.
just as much as the face
No,
wants the
the
cheers.
heel wants a reaction.
Which are boos.
No, they want a reaction.
Well, usually the bad guy wants people to boo. That's
No, the bad guy wants them to cheer the good guy. That's what a bad guy's job is.
Including Randy Orton, 8'11".
To be serious now.
Well, Marty from Liverpool, it's something we have, as Frank said, argued this for a
we'll
very long
argue
time.
this
In my
forever,
opinion,
we'll
it
never
is a
change
sport.
his mind because he's a liberal.
It
It
is a
doesn't matter.
sport due to the competitive nature. They don't have that's fine over there. It's all good. House of Commons. It is a competitive situation, in my opinion. The definition of sport, if you look at it, anyone on either side of the argument can take the definition of a sport and make a point as to why wrestling is or is not. So, in Frank's opinion, as you answered earlier, it is a sport. In my opinion, it is a sport. In Meathead's opinion, it is not a sport. Thank you, Marty.
There's
There's no caviar at all.
That's okay. I
It's
don't
an
need
asterisk
an asterisk. I don't need a
sport.
not asterisk. I'm just telling you that this is our opinion.
For a moment, it is a sport until someone says you win, and then it's not.
That doesn't happen in other major sports?
No, that doesn't happen.
What major sport?
No. Let me rephrase that. Fine. Has it not happened in other major sports? Has there not been fixed competitive
Wow.
situations in other sports?
Fixed?
Yeah, but
makes
it's
it
illegally
illegal.
fixed. Yeah.
But
They're
it has
not
happened.
meant to be a show.
Wrestling is legal, is it not?
Frank, this is obviously we're going to run out of tape.
We're gonna,
on this.
you're
This
gonna
is
spin this until no. What they did was wrong because they were trying to make money on their own, which makes it illegal, and then they got, in
this
jail.
argument is so ridiculous that I can't believe we continue going on. I mean, honestly, I had no gray hair when we started this conversation.
We're simply answering
You
the question
had hair
from
when we
Marty.
started this
Asking the
conversation.
question from Marty from Liverpool,
We did,
England,
but
who
you keep
asks
poking.
a
Yeah,
valid
you
question.
asked all that question.
The Electronic Sports Programming Network also featured wrestling prominently on its air in its early days.
But not now.
Still does on ESPN
You
Classic.
said in its early days. ESPN Classic shows talk shows on it too.
Well, it's part of the
Like this one
network.
about wrestling?
No, this isn't on ESPN Classic.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
What's wrong with you? Pay attention to what
Marty
we're
from
doing.
Liverpool, England, thank you very much for that email. We want to make sure you guys check out the Pro Wrestling Report
Marty,
on
have this
540.
conversation like at Christmas dinner. It'll be
It's a
like,
heated conversation whenever you have it,
It
whoever
is.
you have it with.
When are you going to have us over at Christmas dinner so we can have this conversation?
I'll be overseas. Most people in the business don't consider it a sport. But again, if you look at the definition of sport, people on both sides of the argument can make their own justification as to why it is or is not. But if you look at you can't, and this is what bothers me about this, people discount the athletic, competitive nature of professional wrestling.
Damien, that's something we've never discounted before. We all agree on this very program
It is
that they're all athletes.
Yeah.
Every single one of them that perform.
I said the athletic, competitive nature.
Mm.
Well, you're adding the word nature. to
Yeah,
it.
which is a spin word. So let's just go on to the next one.
He wasn't supposed to be here! Also, follow the Pro Wrestling Report on Twitter. Our username is PWR Show. We are all each individually on Twitter as well. A lot of times you get information on special guests and other show updates on Twitter before anywhere else. So be sure to follow the Pro Wrestling Report on Twitter. Also, the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime returns next week. And next week, gentlemen, it's going to be a huge week. Coming up this Monday night, it is Raw versus Impact. It is the night that people have talked about for a number of years, the night where TNA could prove its dominance or prove its
Ignorance.
secondary nature in the sport of professional wrestling.
In professional wrestling.
Tony Schiavone called it
in the
sport
nature
every
of the
week.
sport.
You love that company.
Bobby Heenan called it a sport on air too, but that's part of the worked nature of their commentary.
He
Now
didn't
you're
know how to
using the
work.
word
Schiavone
nature.
didn't.
What's that?
What is this, PBS on
No,
this
I'm
side?
just turning his words on him.
Oh, it won't work.
There's heat here, Frank. Can you
Won't
feel
work.
it?
I can't.
Again, the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime returns next week. I'm going to be live in the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. Frank, as he said last week, is going to be watching Raw.
Yeah. I'll watch
and
both. I'll watch
DVRing.
right.
Do you have a DVR?
I do.
You sure it's not a VCR?
Someone hook it up for me.
You have a DVR, so you're going to be DVRing Raw, watching Impact, flipping between commercials? You have that capability? Never mind.
Yeah.
Meathead, what show will you be watching live Monday night when TNA Impact goes up against WWE Raw?
Do you want a true, honest answer?
No, we want
from
to lie
Ron.
to us.
Do you want an answer from Ron, not Meathead? Do you want a true, honest answer?
Lie to us.
Is that what you want?
I would like an answer.
I'm not watching any of them live because I watch all my TV on DVR. I don't watch anything live.
Why not?
Period. Because it's more fun that way. I go grocery shopping during Packer games or big
Justin
events.
Geber sends in our next email. It says, I was watching WrestleMania 25 again last night and realized something very sad but true, and that was that WrestleMania alone gets more pay-per-view buys than every TNA pay-per-view in the last 5 years. I did the math. So what's your opinion?
That someone's got a lot of time.
No, I think that's the sad part that you took the time to do the math.
for
Just
you.
kidding.
Good for you.
So what's your opinion on this fact? I'll answer first and say you can't compare an establishment that's been there for 25 years to an organization that is getting its upstart. It is obviously disturbing that pretty much any of the monthly pay-per-views for WWE get more than a lot of TNA gets in a year. But at the same time, the argument I used several months ago was when you look at the percentage of people who watch the programming who are actually ordering, it's a lot closer of a fight than a lot of people know. Meaning, if 1 in 10 people who watch WWE programming are ordering the pay-per-view, and 1 in 12 people who watch Impact are ordering the pay-per-view, it's statistically a bit of a dead heat. Frank, your thoughts?
Yeah, look at the percentages. And also
But
the pricing.
TNA, excuse me, one final point to that. TNA should be growing their audience as well. Maybe they'll do that this Monday night
absolutely.
so that they have more people exposed to more people
It
order.
is a great formula that you use, by the way.
Absolutely. Whoever's in marketing in TNA, they've got to have people who know television and what they have to do to grow their audience. Because, at some point you are telling advertisers, we're going to get in this range. So this is how much it's going to cost you. That's what they have to build towards. More revenue, more money, and then the head-to-head stuff can work. But at this point, WWE is such a marketing machine that they're going to have more viewers.
Meathead, your opinion on the pay-per-view buy situation between WWE and TNA?
Like I said, your formula it's an amazing formula, and if you really crack the numbers on that, they're doing what they need to do right now. But again, they should grow their TV audience. One of the things I've always thought they should do is kind of the cross promotion thing. Remember back in the day when you'd see a Mick Foley on the USA television program, whatever was on after Heat, or you'd see them on after Raw. You take your talent, put them on the other shows. I mean, the networks have done that for decades. So, I mean, you're on Spike TV. Get some of the other Spike TV shows that you have. Throw your talent on there. Get their talent to pop up on Spike TV, Impact once in a while, and try to get, try to spread your talent out. Get them on the talk shows.
They have done that.
Not as
Most recently with Super Dave Osborne.
well, Super Dave Osborne, though.
We
The
also
one
have-
guy.
But again, Spike TV's
I mean,
a bit of a different network than USA. That was
Correct.
a big
You're
show they were bringing
absolutely
on
right.
board. They brought him on Impact.
And at that
Mick Foley
point,
was
too,
on his show.
wrestling was hot, and USA was the #1 cable network for the longest stretch. I mean,
Think about
it's still
how
something
many-
they should do, though.
Think about how many new channels there have been since 1998, 99.
Planet Green.
I mean, think of the how the internet has changed more so in 10 years. How people are getting their news these days. I mean, you will never, in my opinion, have it where I gotta watch TNA or WCW versus W. It's never going to happen, in my opinion. It might happen in like the fourth, where they may have something. But as far as those wars, people, it's almost 14, 15 years later. It's different, and it's unfortunate because competition is what makes each product better.
Well, look at
so-
it.
the
and
landscape
to your
has
point,
changed.
Right. Look at in television as a whole. There used to be 53 million people a night watching the 3 network news programs. Now there are less than 20. We're talking about the span of the last 20 years. You look
People
at
want
the
news like
final
that.
episode of MASH. What was it? 83 million people tuned in. The final episode of Seinfeld. What was it? 50, 60 million people. Shows on the same level as far as overall popularity goes. The television world has just changed so much, and people want their information now. They want to see what they want to see now, and the on-demand nature of this society has really changed the dynamics of any type of competition that there would be on Monday nights. And what is good to know is that TNA is not doing this once on this upcoming Monday. It's going to be at least quarterly, where they go head-to-head with Raw, depending again on how
Live.
successful this is. I
That's
hope
the key,
they got to
is
stay
live.
live.
The only way they could have true competition is live against each other. I just don't see that happening. TNA at this point will get crushed live. They would have to have.
But Frank, I have to ask you, what's the definition of crushed? Because again, when we talked about the wars the way they were before, WCW was still failing miserably, getting crushed, but getting a 3-point whichever. That's an amazing share.
Yeah.
Spike TV would soil themselves if they got a 3 for Impact right now. Even if it were a taped, even if the product were bad, if they were getting a 3 right now, let's say, let's bring it into today's world. WWE's doing 3.5. If Spike did 1.5 to 2, they would be ecstatic.
Well, right now they would.
Because they would be their number one show.
They'd have to
But
sustain
the key
that.
is who's watching. CBS, called the Tiffany Network for so many years, was doing good ratings, but it was all people 54 and over. Nobody
Right.
wanted them. That was not a demo you wanted. You look at wrestling in general, males 18 to 34, any wrestling program, including TNA Impact, dominates that rating across any time wrestling is on. So it's the numbers are important, but if you're pulling in a 1.5 compared to a 3, and 1.2 of that 1.5 is the demo that advertisers want, that 1.5 is much more attractive than the 3 during the
very
Golden Girls
sexy.
on Hallmark.
It's very sexy because, again, that's the demo that the advertisers want to be able to put their product on that program. And I think that's really, we've spent so much time talking about these ratings, but it's really about advertising dollars. They need to get the ratings to go to the advertisers to start selling more and more product.
Right.
Thank you for that email, Justin Governor. The final email of the day comes from Ali, who says, for a long time now, there's been no real passion for the tag team straps in WWE. Do you think WWE can't figure out the right way to push tag teams anymore, or is it that the fans don't really feel attracted to tag teams anymore? Okay, I must say, as of late, WWE seems to be putting the right teams together, as in Jericho, DX, Henry and MVP, Hard Dynasty, Legacy, and Crime Time. Should the WWE force back the tag teams, or bring back the tag teams in force, or slowly bring them back to the audience? From Ali. Meathead, your thoughts?
Well, with the exception of MVP and Mark Henry, who've been separate over the last few weeks, again, Mark Henry's still wearing his MVP type Kool-Aid get up, with the with the WSM on the back. We are seeing an influx and a joining of more teams in the WWE. Still doesn't make a tag team division though. The WWE.
So when do you have a tag team division?
You have a tag team division when you have tag teams wrestling on a regular basis, night after night, on the shows, on the Monday night, Thursday night, and Friday night shows. How many tag team matches do you see on, like, Superstars, for example? That'd be a great place to put some tag team wrestling there. Remember, it's only
Heart Foundation. I'm not Heart Foundation.
it's not consistent, is what I'm saying. That'd be a great chance to get some tag team wrestling. Granted, it's 3 matches, 1 from each brand. You have the different commentators doing that, and to call ECW a brand is really kind of funny in itself. That'd be another great place to put some tag team wrestling. The fact that we have, and when we have tag team matches, I'm going to use 2 weeks ago, Monday's Raw. We had 6-mans. We had a group, Legacy, and I'm a little concerned about this, and Damien, you'll be able to speak on this more. Did they pull MVP out of there just so it wasn't Kofi, Mark, and MVP together? Because they kept saying that, why did you just throw all the same guys into one group? Did they put Evan Bourne in there on purpose?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I believe that was the second week, if not third, we saw Kofi and Evan team up.
But they pulled MVP out of there and put Evan in there.
Kaz, your thoughts on tag team wrestling. First, what makes a tag team division, and what should WWE do at this point to either bolster or focus less on their tag team?
Yeah, I agree with Meat on this, where you do have to be, they have to be on a week-to-week basis. You have to have that competition. You have to have that. All right, you have to have that competition.
Because it's a sport, damn it.
The scripted competition. nature
Controlled situation, premeditated
Frank
outcome.
failed.
But anyway, you gotta have, at like it was 20 years ago, it was the Hart Foundation against someone else and someone else and someone else. The
But you
British
didn't-
Bulldogs and so that worked. Today, either, and this is a great question because I honestly don't have I don't know if it's the right answer or the wrong answer.
It's your answer.
My answer is I don't know if they just stayed consistent enough with it, which I agree with Meat with. They tend to want to break them up a lot quicker because someone sees more, I think he'd be better suited as a singles wrestler. Well, eventually it happens, or, it's twisted the other way. But in this case, you don't have as an example, the Killer Bees. You knew they were a tag team when they came up.
Conquistadors.
And now you don't. Now Legacy has sort of it in a way, but you add Randy Orton to it, and then it's 3.
And the only other team that you really have like that would be, say, Hart Foundation.
Yeah.
Because they are the Hart Foundation.
I disagree with you both. I think they have a tag team division by the fact that they have tag team champions and tag teams that wrestle. So clearly there's a
they
tag team
have
division.
a division.
We've had this argument on PWR radio, too.
Clearly they have a tag team division. I think WWE, from where they were 8 months ago to where they are now, has done a tremendous job in creating some form of storyline attention to their tag teams. Thank you very much for that email, Ollie. Be sure to send your questions to comments at pwrshow.com as well to be included on this program. And again, Monday night, big night, WWE Raw versus TNA Impact. I'm going to be live in the Impact Zone, bringing you updates on our Twitter account and at pwrshow.com. And check pwrshow.com to find out when you can catch the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN next week for all the discussion on the big goings-on of this Monday night's activities. Thank you for tuning in to the Pro Wrestling Report Interactive. Have a happy and safe New Year. We'll see you next week.